Good morning, my friends. This is Frank Graziano, your job search and developer and guru when it comes to resume writing. Um, I just finished a series, parts 1 through 6, and about job search, some techniques, and today I'm going to start a new series going along with job search, but this one is going to entail part 1 as of today is going to be about how to sell yourself to an employer. Okay, so let's begin by saying that soon as the word sales, a lot of people get very negative thoughts about, oh, I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to sell. And well, believe it or not, every day, friends, we sell whether we like to or not. Let me give you just a quick example and sample. There was a gentleman many years ago who worked for a very famous national brand shoe store. And one day he came home from work, and his 13-year-old son said, "Dad, is all you do is sell shoes?" And Dad replied and said, "Son, I don't sell shoes, I sell journeys." And he was trying to say that whether I'm selling tennis shoes or shoes, I'm selling people shoe fitwear that's going to take them on their journey to wherever they're going. So we need to begin to have a different outlook on when we think about the word sales, and especially when it comes, and maybe you haven't even heard this before, but when it comes to job interviews and techniques and applying yourself or trying to meet somebody in person, you have to sell yourself. There may be many other people out there with the same like skills and techniques. Maybe some will even have higher degrees than you do. Maybe you don't even have any degrees, but you can win the job and you can win them over by your approach to them. Okay, so in sales approach, let's just first start off by talking about social media. This is very important, guys. And I can't emphasize this enough about social media and how this plays effect in your role trying to find another job, suitable employment, and selling yourself. So let's start by talking about Facebook a little. Perhaps you have a Facebook account already. I would strongly suggest that if you're going to start putting yourself out there for employers, I would suggest that you create another Facebook account, create a new email, new password, and start a whole new account that's strictly for business. Now, I have a business account and a personal account, but on my business account, I do have some friends and family that I have invited, and they're part of my Facebook. But as much as possible, I want to be very careful who I am inviting. Now, why don't you want to use your personal Facebook? Very good question, you may ask. Well, employers, a lot of times, even if you are in the interview process, a lot of times what they'll do, they will go to your Facebook page and they will see who your friends are, who you associate with. Now, before we go further, you're going to say, now, wait a minute here. This is none of their business. Well, it may not be none of their business, but they make it their business. Okay, and if it's important for them to check out your Facebook account, then you better believe it's important to them who they're going to hire. So if you have pictures of you being drunk and partying, carousing, and hanging out with, again, they're your friends, but you want to keep that separate from your professionalism. Okay, so I strongly recommend, and when it comes to any social media site or page, make sure it's professional and you're not putting yourself out there to, you know, look really bad. So social media today has taken on so many new dimensions. We have Twitter, we have different apps. Again, we have Facebook, um, FaceTime. We have all different kind of ways of interacting online. Um, the other thing that employers are doing that I'm beginning to notice, let's say, for instance, you're going online and you look at a job description and you hit the apply button for their particular position. As you're going through the process of filling out their applications, you may run across a page on there that actually has a video screen and they want you to do a live presentation. Now, why? Very simple. In the application, they're going to be able to see you, they're going to hear you, and there may even be a few questions they may want you to answer so they can see how you approach the situation before they even bring you in for another interview or even the first interview. So it's important that you understand the application process, what you say, what you don't say. And again, if you run across an application that has a video screen on it, then they're going to expect you to perform. I have had employers say to me, please tell candidates don't wear their pajamas and don't be in bed when they're doing video conferences. Now, I would think that would be kind of like, using your little noodle. You would think that you would think about that. But believe it, there are some people, they have their shirts off, or for the men anyway, and they have their pajamas and they're sitting on their bed with their laptop. And, that's not a professional appearance. Again, keep in mind that a video chat or a video conference, whether it's through Zoom or through some other application the employer has chosen, it is your time to shine. It is an interview. Okay, so don't blow it and don't make the mistake by thinking, I'm sitting around my house like, okay, here, my office, this is my bedroom. Okay, but I try to, dress professional, at least when I'm even making videos. And definitely if I'm going to be before an employer or other candidates that I'm trying to do mock interviews with, you got to be professional as possible. Now, I would say that in a case like this, business casual is fine. But again, if you're going to get a Zoom conference or a conference for an interview, make sure, men and women, please dress up. Men, put a tie on at least. Okay, look decent, because that is the first impression. And again, in sales, first impressions mean everything. You may have heard it said that, let's say for instance, you're going to create a website or a web page. That may be the only chance that you ever get to win over that whoever that crowd is that's going to view your webpage for the first time. And you know what? If it's not clear, if it's not concise, if it's half shoddy looking, and if it's not professional, what's going to make them want to come back? Okay, so preparation is really important. And again, in today's society that we're living with, social media, what they see is what they get. Okay, so it's no different than being in person. I want to look my best. I want to act my best. I don't want to be, I don't want to be like this in an interview, twiddling my pen or twirling in my chair or whatever. Again, be respectful of their time as well as yours and try to give the best impression as possible. So, getting on to sales now. That all important nasty word to a lot of us. Okay, so as I mentioned, I gave one illustration of the shoe salesman. Well, what are other illustrations that, let's say for instance, you're in a mall and you need to get a tuxedo. Let's say you're going to be part of a wedding. Okay, so you go into a tuxedo shop, and suppose for instance you walk in and not really even knowing what the color coordination is or whatever, and you say to the gentleman or woman working there and say, I need to rent a tuxedo. And they go, okay. So first of all, they may ask you, what's the occasion? Okay, wedding, great. What's going to be the color coordinate? What do you mean color coordinate? Okay, well, what's the groomsman supposed to be wearing? Okay, and what about his best man and his party? Okay, on his side, since you need to get a tuxedo, you need to match one another. So here's where some of your sales experience or sales techniques can come in. So he says to you, oh, well, he leads you or she leads you to this section of tuxedos. And you see, first of all, the prices are like really high. And I would say, sir, now that I expressed to you what I need, do you have a lower price end tuxedo that we can get into? And just don't let them sell you on what they want, but you need to be part of that sales process. In every situation, I can't think of one situation that we don't sell ourselves. What about when it comes to our spouses or our children? Um, you know, your teenager may come home from school and say, Dad, the latest and greatest iPhone 14's out there, and I think I should have it because all my other friends should have it. Well, if you're a good salesperson, even with your own child, you should sit down and say, okay, let's talk about the pros and cons, and let's see if this is a good time perhaps to move ahead in that direction, or if not, why not? You're selling, and you're allowing yourself to sell to your child another option perhaps. Not just saying, oh, okay, do whatever my son says or my daughter says. No. Again, you have to learn the art of sales. So getting back again into the job search, right from the very beginning of your job search, you have to stop and think, what is the employer requiring? Read the job description thoroughly. Make sure you understand what the requirements are. And and by all means, if a requirement is said that you don't have, do not apply for that position. Okay, don't think you're going to be cute and get around it. In the past, I learned a valuable lesson by doing that. There was one job, I would say probably it was like 15 some years ago maybe, but on the requirement, I had every cotton picking thing except I didn't have a bachelor's degree. Okay, so I said, well, maybe I'll get around it. Okay, so I applied for the job, and about 4 or 5 days later, I get a call from the HR person, and they were very excited to talk to me. And this says, well, Mr. Graziano, before we proceed, we'd like you to send us a copy of your college certificate degree. Oops. I says, well, ma'am, I don't have it. She says, what? She says, do you realize how much time you wasted of me? And that was a requirement. And, sir, you should have known better. Well, you know what she went on to tell me? She says, I'm going to tell you this. If there's any other position in my company, I'm never going to think of you. And I'm going to make sure that I flag your resume and keep it so we never, ever talk to you again. So you see, to a lot of employers, it's very important that you follow along what they say. That's part of sales, by the way. It's listening. You're listening as you're reading comprehension, going along with the job description. And I was in sales many years, and I taught many people how to sell over the telephone. And one of the things that I would listen in and monitor phone calls, one of the things I would listen for is anything that and I would just listen. And later on, when we get done, I would go ahead and talk with them and critique the call. And lo and behold, 9 times out of 10, I would say to the representative, did you hear what Mr. or Mrs. said about this or that? No. See, these are opportunities that we miss all the time. And by not listening, we lose the ability to sell products that match what the customer needs. Again, who is our customer when it comes to job searching? The employer. They're going to be our customer. We need to make sure that we please them, we answer all their questions, and we sell ourselves appropriately. Okay, so a lot of times, keep in mind, it's not easy, and it doesn't, there's no sure bet that because you do X, Y, Z correctly, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the job. But you know what? Your chances are so high above anybody else if you follow certain techniques. Okay, so again, in this video, we talked about social media. Keep it clean, guys. And again, I will always emphasize LinkedIn.com. If you never heard of it, do a Google search. LinkedIn.com. Again, the structure of it looks very similar to Facebook, except this is a professional site. Build a good profile, build a good resume in there. And again, when it comes to Facebook and Twitter and other things that you're using, make sure that you have a good professional account and good appearance before the employer. Okay, well, that's it for today, folks. Have a great day, and thank you.